And welcome back, everyone, to the Lantern Corps. Today's Lantern Corps comes to us from Shangsun, who asked the question, what is the Lantern Corps of Dracula? And to me, there's a lot of different types of Dracula. I think I've done Alucard from Hellsing already. But there's also the BBC version of Dracula. There's a Hellsing version of Dracula, the Blade Trinity version of Dracula, Dracula from Castlevania. So there are a lot of different versions of Dracula. For what it's worth, we're going to stick with the standard Bram Stoker, Bela Lugosi, Gary Oldman, Dracula type. The what you think of when you think of Dracula. And from that perspective, there's still a lot of Lantern Corps. This is probably the most Lantern Corps I've actually ever put on one single character in a while. This guy's got, no joke, 5 different Lantern Corps he could qualify for. Now let's get into a couple of the ones that he's definitely not qualifying for. He's not a sorrow lantern. While there's certainly a sadness in Dracula's life, it's more like a reflective sadness. It's not a sorrow that would work towards a Lantern Corps in that sense. He's also certainly not a gold lantern, nor is he a white lantern. He doesn't really feel that much shame in his action, at least this version of Dracula. So I can't say he would be a ultraviolet either. And nor do I really think is he a green lantern. Yes, he has amazing willpower, but not the ability to overcome great fear. He's just more confident in himself than anything else. Yes, he has great willpower, so that is a requirement, but I just don't think he really meets the right requirement. And even if he could, I'd call that more of an outlier. I also don't think he'd be a love lantern. There's not much, unless you're going with like the whole Carmilla storyline, there's not much I would say he loves, and I don't even think the love is like a motivator for him. So I can't really say he qualified. But let's get into it. Being a vampire means he's an automatic shoo-in for the Death Lantern Corps. He's the undead. He's taken and continues to take many lives until his defeat. So there's really no better option than a Death Lantern Corps. But he's also a vampire, which means he's essentially a walking hunger. It's kind of like how Orlok put it in Nosferatu, the most recent version. I am literally hunger. Hunger personified, more something along those lines. That's how he put it. So avarice makes sense. He's never going to be satisfied. He will never be filled or satisfied. Sorry, I ate something recently. So that lack of satisfaction means he would qualify for. Now, he doesn't want like riches or anything like that. He doesn't give a rat's ass about things like that. But in terms of consuming, eating, and where that leads him ultimately, yeah, he would definitely make for a very good Orange Lantern. He also pretty much is kind of devoid of compassion. Like, yeah, he can put on the guise of it, he can act it, but at least these versions of Dracula, pretty compassionless. If we were to talk about the Bram Stoker Dracula by, what was it, Francis Ford Coppola, the Gary Oldman version, that one I think we could make an argument for compassion, and certainly love. We could make an argument for love for that version. Mind you, that movie is not the same as the Bela Lugosi and the Vlad Tepes from Lore Dracula. Still, I don't generally think in most incarnations he is a shoo-in for. He's not usually shoo-in for compassion. I completely realized I misspoke what I said. He would be a competitor. He lacks compassion. I know where it happens. I got confused. Most versions of Dracula basically just lack compassion. Again, Gary Oldman's would be an example, one that does have it. The Castlevania one, what? That was debatable, but on some level, yes. So because of the lack of compassion, Dracula also makes for a good lantern of compassion, a good indigo lantern. He also, let's be fair, makes a damn good yellow lantern. Like, Dracula is a scary dude. People are afraid of Dracula, and for good reason. So, I mean, it's kind of a shoo-in that he could be a yellow lantern. But the last one to go over is Rage. Now, you might not think Rage really works here, and to some degree you'd be right. Because Rage usually is the rage of revenge. It's just the unbridled, unadulterated anger someone has. But it's It's interesting because if we are going with the idea of the Vlad Tepes lore to go into any version of Dracula we go into, then vampirism is something he chose out of revenge and out of spite and hatred towards God, and then revenge against the Turks. So Dracula, I think, harbors a very unchecked amount of anger. So while I think this is probably the weakest option of the 5, it's still an option we got to consider. So with that being said, which among these works the best? Because honestly, any one of these is probably a good lantern ring. Well, okay, take rage out of the equation. I think the next one up that's going to be knocked out, the copper metal, because you got the silver, you got the gold, because you got the gold, silver, and the bronze. I guess we'll just bump it up. So the platinum, the gold, the silver, and the bronze. This is the new bronze. Is fear, only because people are able to stand up to him and therefore weaken the power he has over them through fear. So I'd say that leaves us with compassion, orange, and black. And because we look at something like, say, the Gary Oldman one, which is still technically the same Dracula as this one, I think there's a minor chance he couldn't qualify because of some of his relationships he's had with people, romantic or otherwise. But otherwise, yeah. So that means we would be down to orange and black. And really, this is just a Sophie's choice here. I'd probably say he's Black Lantern, just because he is death personified pretty much, especially depending on the versions you get. I would go with death as probably the most likely one. But I think, honestly, all of the ones I spoke of are not unlikely. In fact, I'd say they're quite likely, maybe. But I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Later.